Hello, welcome to Dog Food with Katherine Abel, the show about dogs that feeds the mind and spirit. The story I'm reading today is Chug on a Tuesday morning. 6:30 a.m. When Everett Monteleone begins stretching his long, strong, limber body in the bed, this way and that, as he does every morning upon opening his hazel eyes and mind to the wonders of a fresh new day, a gaseous eruption explodes from the giant tan mass draped across half of the lower portion of the king-size bed. The fecal-like smell quickly smothers every atom of breathable air in the small bedroom. 6:31 a.m. Everett slings back the white cotton sheet and sprints to the double doors not far from the foot of his bed. As he dashes past the source of the nausea-inducing aroma, he's leapt upon and knocked to the floor, because Chug naturally assumed his Everett hug wanted to play. Chug, an almost 200-pound Bullmastiff mix, lives for playtime, tackle time, and jump on Everett hug time. 6:43 a.m. Having successfully extricated himself from the playful embrace of his best pal, Everett stands on the expansive back deck he built with his own hands and breathes in deeply of the clean, humid air. He can smell the Gulf of Mexico from his backyard in Sop-Choppy, Florida, and these are the smells he's sucking deeply into his fit, healthy lungs, one very long breath at a time. He looks over at the line of frothy mimosas curving gracefully around the left corner of his deck. Today, they're covered in fragrant, dark pink feather blooms. Each time the breeze moves them, he inhales a perfectly scented bouquet which cancels the memory of what he has just escaped. Mimosa trees. We have those everywhere down here. Everywhere. And they're gorgeous. Gosh, they've got this wonderful canopy. They're slender trees. They're long. Their branches are long and slender, like Everett, quite frankly. And they're elegant, like Everett, too. I didn't plan that. Isn't that interesting? You just write, and it happens. But these trees are like Everett, I'll tell you, they are. The mimosa tree, I believe it's called the sleeping tree, because at night the fronds close up. It's marvelous. Fantastic climbing tree, off-the-charts climbing tree. The bark is smooth, and you can grip the limbs. I climbed that tree many a time, perched high in those branches when I was a child. It's a good tree to climb, and you know why it's a great tree to climb? Because when you fall from branch to branch, or limb to limb, because if you're climbing as high as you want to get, right? Guess what else you're going to do? You're going to slip, misstep, and you're going to fall. You're going to fall on another branch because you're daredevil. Anybody who climbs a tree is an official daredevil. Brave. So brave. I'm serious. It takes nerve to climb a tree. Little kids, boy, we don't even know. We just do it. But when you fall, if you fall from one branch to another, you won't get the breath knocked out of you. The limb's going to give. You're not going to jerk a mimosa limb off the tree. That thing is not. It's going to bend. It's going to bend. These trees are phenomenally flexible. They're just a ball to climb, and you can fit. And the way their branches are, you can really get a good perch. You just sit and look at the world, and then the canopy is all above you, and it's light. It'll filter you're protected from our hot sun down here. And then the breeze, and the way the leaves are, the way the fronds, it allows the breeze to pass through beautifully, smoothly, constantly, if there is one. The flowers are, gosh, I picked so many of those flowers. They smell so wonderful. It's sweet, but it's not sickly. It's not cloying. It's a light fragrance. It's sweet, but it's light. And the little feathers, I remember when I was a child thinking that's what it looked like, feathers. The bloom looks like feathers, the tip of a feather brush. I remember taking those blooms and when I was a kid and rubbing it all over my face, my forehead, around my eyes, around my mouth, down my nose, on my cheeks, on my jawline. Relaxing. This is what the mimosa is. Because you look at an oak tree, and that oak tree, golly, oak trees are so massive here. But you know what? When you look at an oak tree, you're just going, that is a massive tree. And strength, I think that's what the oak tree conveys. The mimosa does not convey that, though it is phenomenally strong and lives hundreds of years, can live a long time. These trees, they come from Asia, landed over here. They're exquisite. But you can relax. That's what you do when you see a mimosa tree. There's something about it. I don't know if it's the canopy or the blooms, even when it's not blooming. Something about a mimosa tree. And you can't buy them in the nurseries. They don't sell them in the nurseries. They call it an invasive species. So the way you got to get them on the side of the road, or somebody who's growing them around here, which means no one. Who's growing a mimosa tree? Isn't that something? This tree is so wonderful on so many levels to me. But you cannot buy them. You got to find them, and they come in three colors, of which I know: light pink, fuchsia, darker pink. It's really a darker pink, and then red. It's very subtle, the differences, except for that light pink. But you got to be really looking to differentiate the red and the fuchsia, because they can look very, very close. They're everywhere. And you can plant this mimosa tree in your yard in the brutal sun. It doesn't matter what time of year. It does not matter what time of year you plant the mimosa. The thing is going to live. And it's going to thrive. It's mimosas thrive. They thrive. And they will grow 30 feet. By the end of 3 years, it'll be 30 feet tall. That's another amazing thing about the mimosa. I don't know why they're not in everybody's yards. And there's Everett. He has those mimosas that he planted. He could have planted any tree he wanted to plant there around that deck he built. And he chose a mimosa. I think that says a lot about his character. Laid back, whimsical. It's a whimsical looking tree as well. It is, definitely. I mean, that bloom for sure, right? It's definitely got a otherworldly feel to it. Yeah, it brings peace, that mimosa tree, for some reason. So that's what Everett has planted around his deck in his backyard. Playful. That's what it says. The mimosa tree says playfulness. And Chug, our Chug, is a big old Bullmastiff mix. There are 12 types of the Mastiff, types of Mastiff breeds. 12. That was very surprising. English, French, Bullmastiff, Neapolitan Mastiff, Tibetan Mastiff, Spanish, Turkish, Abruzzese, South African, Japanese, Pyrenean, and the German Mastiff, which is the Great Dane. They can be 100 to 230 pounds. That's a big dog. A 230-pound dog, and the strength to match. Are you kidding me? You better believe it. The Mastiff was bred, obviously, for protection, to guard the livestock, property, and family. They make phenomenal pets. They're friendly, loving, kind, but they're huge. They're huge. And when you read about them, all of them say that. All of the Mastiff, you go in there, English, French, Bullmastiff, Spanish, everything. They're like, they're just wonderful. They're a great addition to the family. Oh, they're intelligent. Just super easy to train. Gentle giants, look at them. Come on. They can do it. But then when you get to the Neapolitan Mastiff, the conversation and tone changes abruptly. I mean, it's pretty much when you read about listen, this dog. Every time you see it in a photo, it's always against snow. This dog is always photographed against snow, white background. They have black. What do they look like? They kind of look like they kind of got the coloring. If you shave them down, they kind of look like the coloring on a liver and tan bloodhound. The brown on the legs, on the belly, and then on the face, around the muzzle, and they have brown above their amber eyes, which makes them look as though they can completely speak to you. That's what it looks like. I mean, in every one, they don't look. I mean, you can get photos of these Mastiffs. I mean, all of them. They're like, look, they are so happy. Yeah, look at that happy galoot. I want one. And then you get to the Neapolitan, and it's back off. They can be fiercely protective. That is your key. That was the key word. Fiercely protective, because they all say, there you go. They can be protective when necessary. If you wish to bring a dog into your home and onto your property, and the description says fiercely protective, well, I would just say you better be ready, because they mean it. they mean it. And what are you going to do? Can you hold back a 230-pound dog that is pure muscle? You know what I bet about that Neapolitan? I bet he is the exact opposite of Chug. Chug is a Bullmastiff mix, and he comes from the Bullmastiff mix is the English Mastiff and the Bulldog. And they came up with the Bullmastiff in the 1800s. And of course, again, guarding the family as a guard dog. And Bulldogs were a lot bigger back then. It's a cool looking dog. The Bull Mastiff is a cool looking dog. He doesn't have that much of all that face that the English Mastiff has. You know what I mean? I mean, it's face for days. There's so much face, it's drooping down almost to their chest. They don't look very scary, the English Mastiff. Neither does none of them do, actually. Only the Neapolitan. And you know why the Neapolitan it's the way they look at you. I mean, they look at you and it says, you are my equal, or maybe even beneath me. I will conquer you if need be. Back away. That's the Neapolitan Mastiff. But Chug, Bull Mastiff, English Mastiff, goo guy, friendly, calm and gentle, loving dogs. Chug is absolutely a loving dog. But the Mastiffs, they look different. And you would never peg a lot of these Mastiffs that you see in these photos. You would see this dog and you would never say, oh, that's a Mastiff. Like, for instance, the Japanese Mastiff. This dog looks like he's got a lot of red lab in him. Totally. When I first saw it, I thought, what? He or she looks like a red lab. But he's not. Tall. Head, this is the Japanese Mastiff, the Tosa. Head to the belly button. That's a tall dog. Okay? If you're 6 foot tall and the dog is to your belly button, that's a big dog. They're awesome. Mastiffs are too cool. Big dogs. But when you get into the big dogs, they are prone to hip dysplasia. And that's when the ball and socket in the hip, they don't fit or they don't develop properly. They rub and grind. And the deterioration results in they can't move, right? Golly. So what you can't do, what you got to be careful of is the giant breeds, you don't exercise them like other dogs. You don't start exercising them until they are, I believe you would begin to exercise a giant breed. Well, Chug, let's talk about Chug. He's our dog. When he's, 1.5 to 2 years old. And before that time, it's lay off of the concrete, lay off of the hard surfaces. They need to walk on soft surfaces, grass, carpet. So those joints, I mean, just think how much they are growing. I mean, it's monumental, the growth rate. They grow so fast. But the Bull Mastiff is known for being gentle, affectionate, and they are phenomenal at reading body language and facial expressions. Super playful. Big dogs. Chug is almost 200 pounds. He's not 230, but still, I mean, Chug is huge and cherished. Chug is cherished. 6:50 a.m. Chug is walking on the grass beneath the canopy of the L-shaped line of mimosas. He's walking along at a pretty relaxed pace. The slowness of his daily circuit of the backyard gives him time to smell everything and to learn if anything interesting happened last night or is happening right now, this very second. He smells the fence, the lantana, the monkey grass, every variety of canna and banana plant, even the St. Augustine grass directly beneath his huge paws. His end goal is the area behind the lean-to shed. There's a generous-sized patch of now yellowed patchwork grass because this is where Chug prefers to do his business. Sometimes, to Everett's endless frustration, Chug will hold it for the entire hour-long morning jaunt and the hour-long evening walk, only to come back home and leave his solid waste on his territory. His deposits, removed almost as soon as they drop, are effectively killing the beautiful lawn Everett has grown and nurtured for the last 5 years. Chug listened to Everett Hugg as he consulted a seasoned professional about grass replacement in the Chug depository. Chug heard the word deterrent bandied about, and not understanding the new word, translated it to desert, which made much more sense to him in the context in which it was used. Is there some sort of dessert that can be introduced? Chug doesn't understand how any dessert could be attractive, evergreen, resilient, and impervious to the results of Chug's formidable digestive tract. But what he does know about humans is that they make the most delicious food. Evergreen must mean ever delicious. It makes sense to Chug. 7:10 a.m. Chug is in the kitchen with Everett, chewing on something that tastes good. He heard some time ago that it's good for his teeth and gums. He doesn't know the meaning or location of teeth and gums, but he does know that he loves chewing on this huge thing. He gnaws and gnaws on it until it's so slippery it keeps slipping out of his mouth and onto the kitchen floor, which soon becomes puddle slippery too, from the generous puddle-forming, self-replenishing reservoir of saliva. 7:11 a.m. Everett doesn't know how he can sit at the kitchen table and eat while Chug chews on the giant meat bone. His first cousin, Vincent Monteleon, is a butcher in the never-ending supply chain. They aren't cheap, but they are worth every single penny. It's pretty disgusting to watch and hear Chug slobber and slurp and gnaw and crack the bone with his powerful jaw, causing bone debris to splinter and shoot out all over the place. No carpet, no worries. However, from time to time he does find bone detritus on the cabinets and tiny dots of it 6 feet up on the walls. The bigger the bone, the more time Everett has to complete his morning routine. Mornings are the time he prefers his own company. This is the time he likes to organize his thoughts and plans for the day. Working from home may sound luxurious and enviable, but extreme discipline is critical to ensure the top level of productivity and success. Plus, his job never ends. Calls come in at all times, day and night. Before Chug came into his life, the erratic but highly profitable schedule was tiresome. Now, when he wakes, so does his buddy Chug. The pleasant company he provides outweighs the slobber mill and shooting bone particles every single time. 7:30 a.m. Chug stands quietly while Everett clicks the leash to his wide collar. It's taking every ounce of the willpower he possesses not to jump up or wiggle his body in uncontrolled joy. This is his favorite time of the day. 7:35 a.m. Chug has paused on the well-maintained sidewalk to stare Toby down. The black, 6-pound toy poodle lives 4 houses down from him and taunts him almost every day. Toby, not only anticipating but indeed well prepared for this time of the day, has followed to the letter their usual, insanely fun routine. The moment he smelled the approach of Chug, he'd leapt away from his cushion on the back patio like an Olympic gymnast at the beginning of the final floor routine. He had then run like a wild gazelle to his hidey hole under the black elephant ears in the front left corner of the yard, just in front of the black chain-link fence. Soon, his athleticism and stealth are rewarded. Toby can see Chug lumber-trotting ever closer. The moment Chug is 1 inch from the fence, Toby unleashes his excitement and bursts forth from the cover of the elephant ears and begins barking like a maniac. No matter how many times he does it, and he does it at minimum twice a day, 5 days a week, he always succeeds in startling the giant dog. And while Toby shouts his glee from the top of his tiny lungs, Chug stands close to the fence and stares him down until he stops barking or until he smells something interesting wafting from a different direction. Everett stands and stares at Toby too, sometimes smiling, sometimes shaking his head, and sometimes lost in thought, knowing that Chug and Toby are the best of pals. Toby will come to Chug's, and Chug will go to Toby's. The neighbors help each other as necessary. Marjorie has told Everett they love it when Chug comes over because then both Chug and Toby will guard the fence line and bark like maniacs when anyone dares to walk by. Before Marjorie and Everett shared their dogs, her home had been broken into twice. But since Chug was adopted and Everett began walking him around the neighborhood, up and down every sidewalk almost every morning and every evening, they'd seen a drastic drop in crime. Not everyone loved Chug, but they certainly admired and welcomed his intimidating presence. 8:45 a.m. Chug is in the backyard. He is noisily stalking Zsa-Zsa, while Zsa-Zsa pretends to be completely unaware of his noticeable breathing and the sound of his huge paws crushing the grass and or mulch as he attempts to approach her like a spy. Plus, she can smell the saliva gathering at the corners of his mouth, and on one side, the right, she hears the saliva begin to run like a river into the curving folds of Chug's huge mouth. In Chug's mind, he's all but invisible as he nears the fluffy Balinese cat he calls Nimisona. Sometimes he thinks she's playing with him, that she can hear every sound he makes, because her confidence level never wavers. But he knows this can't be true. If he can't hear himself, how can she? Chug can't hear himself because he's so accustomed to the noises his giant body makes. He's unaware that they are unique to him. Chug thinks the noises he makes are everywhere, all over the world, all the time. In this wonderful moment in time and being alive, he likens himself to a top-secret spy with unmatched undercover skills, unmatched blending into the environment skills, and unmatched sneaking skills. He truly believes this, and Jaja, with her playful nature, will most of the time let him think she wholeheartedly believes this absurd fantasy too, as long as it suits her playtime. Luckily for Chug, Jaja always wants to play. 8:45 a.m. continued. When Chug returns from his morning walk, he always heads directly for the backyard. Sometimes he heads straight for his depository, and sometimes, if Everett has met with rare and fulfilling success, Chug will come through the dog door relaxed, yet poised for action. When he steps onto the back deck, he stands half in, half out of the house. The big flap of the dog door rests comfortably on his back as he yawns while giving the property a desultory perusal. He freezes when he sees a fluffy, cream-colored ball underneath the bench next to the magnolia tree. Her back is to him. Slowly, he steps away from the house to emerge in stealth mode. Though the next-door neighbors heard the flap descend and the magnetic strip slap loudly against the base of the dog door, Chug hears nothing but his own plans. 8:50 a.m. Having arrived at the end of the deck, he stands completely still and without blinking watches Nimasona, knowing in his heart she's completely unaware of his presence. He steps off the deck, deaf to the unmistakable creaks each wood step makes under his substantial weight as he descends into the yard. 8:53 a.m. 3 super slow motion minutes later, Chug puts his right front paw on the pea gravel at the foot of the steps. Since he's completely convinced that Jaja Nimasona has not heard the boards creaking, his collar tags clinking, his ever-audible breathing, and the little bark that escaped before he could stop it when he laid eyes on her, he's also utterly convinced that she does not hear the crunching and scraping of the little multicolored rocks as all of his almost 200 pounds moves heavily across the decorative and functional landscaping material, which extends 8 feet out from the bottom step of the deck. Jaja, like all cats, is a teleporter and also has eyes in the back of her head and an extra ear on the tip of her fluffy tail. But her hearing need not be extraordinary to follow the path of the giant galoot who lives with her and her Everett. She has been tracking him ever since the day he first arrived. Just a puppy, and he'd been 3 times her size, and the growing seemed to never stop. She was mightily put out with her Everett for bringing the strange intruder into their home, but then he turned out to be so much fun, and entirely manageable as well. He was even a most agreeable pillow. Her Everett neglected to turn the heat on in the winters, but luckily Chug was a walking electric blanket, possessing a jolly, selfless soul. He'd let anyone do whatever they wanted to him. Thank goodness he has herself and Everett to protect him. Chug is one of those kind of dogs that will literally, you can do anything to him, and he'll do anything for you, this dog. I mean, you say sit outside, he's going to sit outside and not make a peep. He's not going to bark to come in. He's just going to wait for you. I mean, he's like, you told me to sit out here. Come on, let's go. You're in the car, he'll wait in the car. He never complains. Chug would never, ever complain. He's just not made that way. This dog is so loving and kind. Just born that way. Just born loving and kind, generous of spirit. Cats, of course, are a little different than dogs, if you didn't know. Yeah, they're not. Some cats, you can get some cats that are dog-like, affectionate, talkative, want to be around you all the time. A Siamese cat, a Balinese cat. If that's the kind of cat you want, if you need company, want company, and beauty, oh my goodness, if you want to behold beauty every single day, every time you look over at your beautiful cat, the Siamese cat, the Balinese cat, yes, there you are. There's your cat. Those cats are absolutely exquisite looking. That tan, light-colored, and those startling blue eyes. That is, and do you know that the Balinese cat That's just a completely made up name. Because the Balinese cat was a surprise. A Siamese cat had two fluffy kittens, two fluffy Siamese cats. And so a new breed was born. Thank goodness. Oh my, that breed, the Balinese cat, they are so beautiful. They are so beautiful and intelligent and fun. This cat is fun. It's super athletic, super athletic. A tremendous family addition. This is a great, great, great cat for homes that have children, because that cat's going to dig in and love it. I mean, a Balinese or Siamese cat, yes, bring the action, bring it on. There are different colors for the Balinese: the seal, chocolate, blue lilac. Blue lilac. I love these names they come up with. Red lynx, tortoiseshell. They're all gorgeous, but not as gorgeous as the original. The original Balinese, so just captivates me. Just such a visually stunning creature, truly, and ready to play. Siamese, Balinese, ready to play. They do not do well alone. This cat does not do well alone. They need company. They need action. They need action. This is an action cat. Please know that and act accordingly, which I know you will. 8:57 a.m. Even when Chug is 3 feet away and closing, Jaja doesn't move. She loves to let him think that he will, this time, capture her, scare her, pounce on her. What is his plan exactly? Not that it matters, because she'll never find out. She loves to let him get close. Sometimes she will turn abruptly in fake shock and horror, only to see the genuine shock on Chug's face. Sometimes the look is so comical she almost rolls over on her back and waves her tail at him. But she never does gloat. She's too much of a game athlete to give in to unjust emotion. She has ostentatiously planted herself at the base of the tree. She has been studying a pretty high branch, and while Chug loudly makes his way toward her, she has been studying the most challenging path to it. Today, Jaja has decided to break her personal leaping record. She believes her highest leap ever is almost 2 doors high. The branch she's currently studying she estimates to be almost 3 doors high, if not higher still. 9:01 a.m. Chug accidentally steps on a squeaky red rubber bone and comes so close to being irretrievably redirected that Jaja holds her breath as she waits. While she waits, she eyes the branch and readies her agile body for the record-breaking leap. Wait for it. Wait for it. When Chug bounds forward in imagined triumph, Jaja squats low and with all of her strength and perfect cat timing, leaps high. Front legs stretch long, back legs stretch longer and energized from the exertion. 9:02 a.m. Chug runs forward as fast as he can, and with a grace he didn't realize he possesses, he leaps over the low bench perfectly, but then crashes into the trunk of the tree because he can't control his weighty impulses as well as he thinks he can. He turns his eyes toward Nimasona and watches in wonder as his playmate astounds him once again with her skills. She's flying through the air. Her front paws come close but fail to attach her razor-sharp claws into the designated high branch. He jumps onto the tree so that he can catch her when she falls, because she is falling, and Chug, dear Chug, is so frightened for her. He knows he's huge and clumsy and good for nothing but friendship, love, and fun, but somehow, he will find a way to save his dear friend. Standing on the tree, his body stretched as tall as he can, he waits for her to plummet downward and then become the hero of her heart forever. But Jaja has other plans. Between her goal branch and her victory branch last week, there are knots along the trunk of the old magnolia. As she meticulously planned her potentially record-breaking leap, she'd also had a contingency plan lined out in case she didn't quite make it. And that was it, wasn't it? She thinks gleefully as her back claws dig into one of the bulges. She almost made it. What a feat. 9:05 a.m. Below, Chug watches in awe as the beautiful blue-eyed Balinese agilely uses the bulges on the old trunk as stepping stones. Though she failed to hit her mark on the first try, she's now there, sitting prettily and blinking mischievously at Chug, her would-be yet never hero. If the mimosas reflect the characters of Everett and Chug, then the magnolia reflects the character of Jaja. Magnolia trees. These are massive. They can be massive. Slow growing, massive trees. Awesome for climbing. And I mean awesome. There are several reasons why they're awesome climbing trees. One of them is that the branches are super strong and they're small, so you can really get your hands around them. And the branches grow like a ladder, so you can just stair step your way up the tree. And if you don't watch out, you will find that you are very, very high in no time at all. Very, very high. Well, what's the biggest magnolia I've seen? I think it was 3 stories high. And just, I mean, these people, this was in Mississippi, close to Indianola. They never touched, way out in the country. I mean, you got to be way out in the country to have a magnolia this big. And they never laid a hand on that magnolia. There was no fertilizing, there was no trimming, shaping, nothing. But it's very cool and mysterious. If you go, because you have all the leaves, right? And the leaves, you can't see through the leaves. The light does not get through. They're thick, very thick leaves, dark green on the outside. And underneath they have this bronze velvet. I mean, that's what it looks like. It looks like bronze velvet. Can you tell that I have climbed in some trees? Oh my gosh, I have climbed some trees. And studying, I mean, kids, they're up there studying the trees. So you're hidden in a magnolia tree. If you're climbing in a magnolia tree, nobody can see you, especially one that big. I mean, nobody can see you. And it's dark in there. So all the leaves, all the branches and all the leaves are around you, and you're up there on this, and the bark is really dark, and it's kind of got a moist feel to it too. It's like when you got your hands around the limbs. God, it's bringing back so many incredible memories. Lovely memories. And so nobody can see you. You're up in there. I mean, no one can see you. So it's perfect for a cat because you can, if you can see, yes, you can, of course. You can make your eyes go around the leaves and you can watch everything that's going on. And if you dare to go high, you can really see what's going on. And the blooms are massive. I mean, the blooms are massive. They easily fill 2 hands. Fragrant, luxurious. The magnolia bloom is a very luxurious bloom. But if you touch it, it begins to yellow. You ruin it. Golly, thinking about all these smells. What's the difference between the mimosa and the magnolia smell? The mimosa is, I believe it's fainter, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it. It's got a fainter scent. And remember what I said about it's not cloying well? The magnolia is a cloying scent, but you don't mind. You don't mind somehow. Because that bloom is so exquisite. If you have never seen a magnolia bloom in person, please do so. And the full-grown, the giant magnolias, not the little gems where everybody you see them everywhere now. Those magnolia blooms, they blow your mind if you've never seen a magnolia bloom. I mean, that's why so much stuff is named after Magnolia. Magnolia Inn, Magnolia Hotel, Magnolia whatever, Magnolia Fragrance. That tree is amazing. Mysterious. It's very mysterious. And if you let the magnolia grow, if you've got all that, if you've got room to do it, and you're planting for, 3 generations down the line, what happens is at the bottom, more magnolia trees start coming up. So you got, how big was that magnolia tree? That magnolia tree, I guess at the bottom was, easily 1,000 square feet. There's no doubt in my mind. That was the bottom of that tree was 1,000 square feet in area. It was huge. And so, but growing up in the bottom of the tree are more magnolia trees. It's like a little forest of little magnolias, which of course have pitiful leaves because they're not getting any sun. But it's a very mysterious and weird kind of atmosphere. Is it welcoming? No, not really. It's not a welcoming atmosphere. You go up in there and it's like, ooh, this is kind of spooky. What am I going to do? Well, you got to climb the tree. Look at it. It's got ladders for branches. So this is definitely Jaja's character Mysterious fun. Ooh, what's she doing? Watch out, she's in the magnolia. What's she doing now? Who knows? She's a cat. Perfect. Perfect cat. 9:17 a.m. Chug has fully surrendered himself to the pleasure of rolling over and over and over again on the red bone-shaped squeaky toy. It's squeaking and squeaking and squeaking, and he loves it so much, not only for the high-pitched noises that are irritating Susan and Michaela next door while overstimulating their two half-blind senior chihuahuas in the best possible way, but he also loves the wonderful self-massage he has become quite skilled at giving himself. He's lost in the throes of the relaxing self-massage, while Gus and Gina bark excitedly from behind the cedar privacy fence. Susan looks patiently at Michaela, who looks down at their two precious family members as they bark and urinate just a little bit with each muscular exertion. Michaela looks back up at Susan and then, with a quiet sigh, leaves for towels and disinfectant. As Susan watches the happy little dogs, she makes a mental note to ask Everett to lose the obnoxious toy, then immediately, mentally tears up that note to replace it with one that reads, "Get a secure and attractive container for the covered back patio that will house surplus towels and disinfectant." As she watches her little, happy, jerkily moving dogs, she makes another mental note. Ask Everett where he got the obnoxious toy and purchase enough so that Chug never runs out of them. 3 minutes later, the senior chihuahuas are worn out, and Chug is on his back staring at white floating things in the sky-blue sky. He ignores Nemasona as she passes by his head and barely runs her tail across his warm brown eyes. His mouth is wide open and his tongue is lolling out on the left side. He likes the way the air feels on the roof of his mouth and the way the grass tastes on his tongue. He falls asleep in this position, experiencing these nice things. Jaja is watching him from the deck. His rhythmic snoring soon puts her to sleep, too. 10:30 a.m. Everett returns home from his morning gym trip. He's training hard for the yearly triathlon that he's won 2 years in a row. He's determined to win again this year, and his lean, hard body might just present him with the victory he craves. The opening of the refrigerator door jolts Chug from his morning snooze. He knows what that noise means. That noise means food. He pulls his tongue back inside his mouth and enjoys swallowing the bits of grass and dirt that were stuck to it. He rumbles across the deck like a semi-truck, bolts through the dog door like a bull in a china shop, and slams uncontrollably into Everett Hug like he always does. And Everett Hug, who knew what was coming, stands strong, bends over, and gives his best boy a good, love-filled hug. Chug's reciprocity hug is filled with just as much love and more than enough slobber. When Everett stands, he wipes off the lucky side of his face and reaches back into the fridge to get a hard-boiled egg for Chug, which disappears as soon as it is presented to him. 10:39 a.m. Chug's tail thumps on the kitchen floor as he watches Everett Hug finish preparing the mid-morning snack. Whenever he comes back home smelling of salt, he always prepares a sweat congratulations snack. Sometimes a cream cheese bagel, sometimes chicken and rice, sometimes a turkey burger, sometimes grapes and cheese, sometimes a peanut butter and banana sandwich, sometimes something so aromatic and sizzling that Chug thinks he'll go blind. Today is a day of amazing blindness. Chug watches as Everett Hug takes big white pink meat and red and yellow and green bulbous things from the fridge. He watches him take a clear bag of white gray-veined half-moon-shaped things from the freezer. He watches as he puts the whole bag into a silver metal bowl with tiny holes all over it into the sink, then turn the water on full blast to run over the bag. Chug's mouth starts watering when he begins taking seasoning jars from the cabinets. Chug's tail starts beating a boom, boom, boom on the blue tile floors. Before Everett begins slicing and dicing and creating pure food magic, he wipes up the puddle from the waterfall of drool descending from Chug's mouth while avoiding a drenching love lick. He then places a beach towel with Chug's image on it on the floor to catch the nonstop waterworks. "Stay, Chug," he says. And Chug stays because he knows what's in store for them, and he's beyond happy to do exactly as instructed. He knows his perfect obedience will pay off in the most thoroughly delicious way. Chop, chop, sizzle, sizzle, full fork, full fork. What is happiness for a dog or a cat? I don't think I know what happiness is for a cat. They're very mysterious, aloof creatures, and they have varied interests. They like to do a lot of different things. But do I know what happiness is for a dog? I think I do, maybe. I think I have happy dogs. Except for Grey Grey. Grey Grey is completely happy, but she's just, she's wound up, ready to go. That's that black-mouthed cur. That's what you get. That's it. So I think that Grey Grey is happy. She loves being around me, always coming to me to get petted. What is happiness for a dog? I mean, happiness, to be happy, that's a deep thing, to be happy. What is happiness? Is it being calm all the time? I don't know. Not calm all the time, but calm, yes. I don't know. My dogs are. They're calm. They sleep. I mean, dogs, cats sleep so much. Boy, they sleep. They got to have a lot of sleep. I wonder why. I wonder why they need to sleep so much. What is a happy dog? How can you tell if your dog is happy? How do you know that? I know. I just figured it out. I believe this is it. I believe that a happy dog is a dog who always wants to be around his or her person or family. That's a happy dog. When they're loved, that's it, right? When they're loved, they're happy. How do you love a dog? A dog who can't speak, tell you what's up, what they want, how they're feeling, what they're thinking. Believe me, they're thinking. Trust me on that. I don't know. I think, to tell you, I'll spend the rest of my life figuring that out and trying to achieve it, trying to make my dogs, not make my dogs happy, but provide an atmosphere, an environment where happiness rules the day. So yes, my dogs are happy. Their tails are wagging. They follow me everywhere. They love being with me. Gosh, I love being with them too. I love being with my dogs. Happiness for a dog. I wrote that down casually, thinking, let me talk about it. But boy, you get to thinking about it. I'm not even going into happiness for humans because, it starts getting complex. But then again, why is that complex? Why is the happiness of a dog somehow simpler to meet and manage than the happiness of a human? Ambition. Dogs have no ambition. They have no ambition. They're just waiting on us. Where are we going? What are we doing? When are we going to feed them? When are we sleeping? They want to get in the bed. Sleep at the foot of the bed. Sleep in the house while you're sleeping. They have no ambition. And so they're happy all the time. I'm sitting here thinking about the actions of my dogs, what they are like during the day, and how do I know? And you can tell if something's up. I mean, you guys are listening to this, so I think everybody who's listening has a dog, probably inside dogs. So you know what your dog is doing all the time. The mood of your dog. You get to where you can read the mood. I don't know if you can read a mood. I think that's you cannot read the mood, but you can tell something is awry. Something's not right, or something's not right. I mean, if something's very right, you don't say, "Oh, everything's going great." You just truck along. Happiness of a dog. Feed them. And love. I mean, honestly, food. Of course, you're going to if you love the dog, but love, that's what it is. Cherishing the dog. I mean, Chug knows he's cherished. He knows that Everett adores him. He can feel it. He can feel Everett's happiness when Everett is around him. And that makes Chug happy. They are so sensitive, can read us. Oh my gosh, can you believe that? The Bullmastiff can read facial expressions? They're highly adept at reading body language and facial expressions. They don't say that about all the other breeds. I was very, very surprised to see that. But if I walk on someone's property and there's a dog, how do I know? Oh, you know what? You can totally tell a happy dog right off the bat. The eyes are alight with joy. They're just happy. Listen, they may be barking at you, you're going to take your leg off, but they're alight with joy and confidence. Tail wagging, healthy body, not obese, not too skinny, and getting a lot of exercise. Muscle dog is a happy dog. What else? If you go on someone's property and you see a dog runs out and starts barking at you, sometimes they'll just stand there and wag their tails, bark, bark, bark. But they're happy. You can tell they are happy because they exude it. That's it. It's mysterious. I'm unable to describe it or to give you a formula. It's a mystery, isn't it? If it weren't a mystery, everyone would be happy. But why is it a mystery? How come the dogs have it figured out? How come they have it? Well, that's it. Remember, no ambition. They don't sit around going, we want this, we need that. They don't. They really don't. They live totally in the moment. Animals live completely in the moment. They are masters of living in the present. Yes. Every moment, every present moment is new and exciting and holds vast amount of wonderful news. That's the way dogs look at the world. The ones that, those who have been cherished. A happy dog is a dog who is loved. That's it. That's all it takes. Sincere love. And what comes out of that sincere love is the home that is provided from the extension of such a wonderful, generous gesture. I mean, love never ends. It keeps going. The generosity of love knows no bounds. That is the key component to the happiness of a dog. Love. 11 a.m. Everett is lounging on the back deck in an extra long navy blue wicker chaise lounge. He's reading documents and plans on a computer notebook and making positive contributions to society. The mimosas, strategically planted years ago on the left corner of the deck, are doing their jobs. Half of the deck is delightfully shaded while their wispy open limb formations allow a light breeze to drift as it will. But just in case the breeze decided not to show up, Everett has a 3x3 commercial fan going to assure himself and the world of fresh air. Fresh homemade chicken and shrimp fajitas always stimulate Chug's daily quota of flatulence. The usual gaseous excretions are generously amplified for a bit after Chug consumes his allotted 2 forkfuls, and Chug's rear end is on the deck directly beneath Everett's right elbow. The fan, set on medium speed, ensures that no eye-watering smells will reach his nostrils. He looks up from his work to watch Zsa step up onto the deck, wrinkle her perfect nose, turn around, and run back to the mysteries the magnolia always seems to hold. Everett chuckles and looks down at the huge gas-passing sleeping dog. He still can't get over how big Chug is. He's Mastiff all right, but he must have some grizzly bear in him too. He weighs almost 200 pounds and he's not even 2 years old. Everett paid attention to the online research he did when Chug came into his home. An exercise head and eager to take his new pal on long walks, he was surprised to learn that in large breed dogs the bones and joints are still developing until they're a year old, and that too much exercise could actually harm him. No one knew exactly how old Chug was when Everett accepted him into his home and life. His twin sister Lila was volunteering at the animal shelter in Tallahassee when a 40-something woman pulled up in a much-used gray crew cab truck. She'd exited and lowered the back tailgate to remove a large wheelbarrow. Lila had stopped her hosing of the last of the 45 outdoor kennels to watch the woman push the wheelbarrow around to the passenger side back door, open it, and then ever so slowly and gently reach inside the truck and pull out huge tan-brown puppies to place into the waiting bucket. Lila watched as the woman hugged and kissed each puppy before placing them inside. By the time Lila had rolled up the hose and was headed out to help her, the woman had managed to get 4 squirming bodies, desirous of escape and fun, into the bucket. But they had no plans of staying there. As Lila watched her struggle to gain control, she approached to offer help and ask for the reason of surrender, a question that is required by law in Florida. She noticed the tears running down the woman's contorted, grief-stricken face. When the woman noticed Lila, she began shaking uncontrollably. Instead of speaking, Lila helps her wrangle the puppies as best as she can. But 15 giant breed puppies are pretty much impossible to contain anywhere. When she reaches her hands towards the only puppy with the collar, the woman hesitates and says, This one, with the blue collar. He's special. This one will make the most precious pet and family member. I wish I could keep him. I wish I knew how to find them good homes, but I don't. I can only keep Ma Belle. I have to know she'll be safe. The woman looks back into the truck and Lila's eyes follow hers. She can now see a large brown bulk sitting on the back seat. As more volunteers exit to assist in controlling the puppy chaos, the woman turns back to Lila and says, I'm not a bad person, and I'm not ignorant anymore, but I was ignorant. My boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, he would have bred her to death. I didn't know that could be done until I watched him do it to the last one. I didn't know it could be done. But as I watched her die a lonely death, he went and got Ma Belle. And I was not going to let him do it to her. I tried to talk to him, to reason with him, to educate him. But he just laughed at me. And ma'am, he's going to keep doing it until somebody stops him. He doesn't even name him. It's awful. He's a creature, not a human. I guess I was too. But I'm not anymore. I'm not anymore. I can't stop crying. I'm sorry. The other shelter volunteers see the woman crying and shaking uncontrollably and are relieved that level-headed Lila is the one who caught this one. He's going to have a fit when he gets home and nobody's there. But ma'am, those puppies have a better chance of finding good homes here. I'm done with him and that way of soul-killing living. I'm done. Hold on a second. The woman turns away and reaches inside the glove compartment. The big dog moves forward to investigate. Lila watches the woman pet the dog with great tenderness and caring. Though Lila cannot completely see the dog, she looks like a full-blooded Bullmastiff. The woman speaks gently to Ma Belle, and the big dog sits back down. Lila watches her shoulders rise and fall, and knows the woman is taking deep breaths in an attempt to calm down. Stop crying. She watches her run her sleeve across her eyes. When she turns back to Lila, her eyes are bloodshot, dry, and determined. She hands her an envelope. There is a name and an address written on it in clear, legible writing. That's his name, and that's where he lives. He'll get another female. He doesn't care where the babies go as long as they sell, and they always sell. He sells them as full-blooded Bullmastiffs, but he breeds any giant breed to the females. Every single year. He never stops. He kills them by never stopping the breeding. And he's been killing them for a long time. There's $4,000 in that envelope. I'm not filling out any paperwork. Goodbye. Thank you. Lila watches the truck leave the parking lot. She wheels the donated wheelbarrow to the equipment shed before going to the intake area. When she opens the door, she sees the director and her co-volunteers all seated on the floor with giant puppies crawling all over them. They're laughing and hugging and being licked and peed upon. The director asks her where the woman went and for the paperwork. Lila shrugs her shoulders and hands her the $4,000, but not the envelope with the legible writing on it. The director looks at her with questions in her eyes, but Lila's hazel eyes are tracking the happy tan brown boy with the thin sky blue collar around his ever-growing neck. 11:05 a.m. Everett looks at Chug's massive sky blue collar and recalls the day Lila brought him home. He never protested, not even once. He'd opened the door and there'd been his twin standing there with a whole lot of dog in her arms. Chug's eyes had met his, and that was that. Chug never protested even once. And it was true what his savior had said. Chug is the most precious pet and family member. He's loving, kind, generous, and he calms Everett's spirit every time he looks at him. Everett and Lila investigated the woman's claims. They took turns spying on the man and learning everything they could. Lila, long, tall, and beautiful to all men's eyes, had managed to trick him into asking her for a date. When he invited her back to his place, not an hour after meeting her, she'd coyly batted her eyelashes and accepted the ill-mannered request on the condition that they have one more drink when they arrived. At his home, standing in his living room and looking out from the picture window onto the backyard, she spotted a young female Bullmastiff chained to the farthest tree. She was lovely, and lying down in front of a rotting doghouse. As he ran his strong hand down Lila's arm, he'd leaned in to whisper that She could have first pick of the litter. Lila had leaned a little to the right, just a little, so that the drugged animal abuser could continue his lean right onto the bare wood floor. She then called Everett, who was parked across the street. Together they'd walked to the very back of the backyard and unchained a beautiful girl who was just a puppy herself. Neither said a word to the other, as both knew the diverse natures of man only too well. They owned a private security company, and the things they watched from hidden cameras in all manner of rooms was enough to curdle anyone's belief in humanity. There was nothing they could do to stop the man from getting another female to breed to death, but they knew someone who could, and would, stop him forever. With the two quiet, unspayed females safely ensconced in the back seat, and Lila competently driving them away from the animal abuser who wouldn't wake up for 12 more hours, Everett makes a call to a man named Gerald that would make a monumental difference in two very disparate lives. One would be safe only with compliance. The other would be safe no matter what. I had to create Gerald. First off, I want to ask you something. I'm just going to leave that question in the air. I'm not going to answer it for you, but I would like you to think about it for a year, if you don't mind. Why is that female dog who's just coming out of puppyhood, why was that dog so quiet? Why do you think that dog was so quiet? So I have Gerald. Gerald is my superhero for dogs. He doesn't really, humans he's not. Gerald he's a piece of work. He's almost a sociopath. He has no morals, Gerald. There's nothing to constrain Gerald from doing anything he wants. He's fabulously wealthy, unimaginably wealthy, because he could care less. And he's a genius. Yes, Gerald is a genius. One of his superpowers is, of course, his genius. And you've got to say, another superpower is his lack of morals. Think about it. You got somebody who's rescuing dogs in terrible situations. I'm not saying Gerald's right, okay? Still, I like what Gerald does, because they're going to call Gerald, and they're going to come in. And this guy, he's never going to have another dog his entire life. How is Gerald going to do that? He's not going to do it with violence. Gerald he does not like violence, and he comes from an extraordinarily violent background. So he knows all about violence and how to use it to get what you want, because he did that. He did that. But now he doesn't. He does not use violence. He's too smart for that. So what did he do to that man? Well, threats. Threats. Of course, he had to prove some threats, right? So what would he do? What would he do to that guy? He would say, hey, don't get any more dogs. And of course, the guy, because he lives in the South, is going to say, you're not going to tell me what to do. And then Gerald would make it very clear that, indeed, he is going to tell him exactly what to do. He would take his job, his reputation, his car, his home, his clothes, his shoes, his identification. Gerald is wealthy enough and lacking in morals. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. I guess that's it. But that's not true. How can he? He does care. He does care. Does he care? Golly, you know what? I don't know if Gerald cares. That really makes me think about Gerald. Does he care? Yes, he does care. He loves this woman. Gerald is from my novel, The Depth of Dogs, and he comes to realize that he does. He adores this woman. He loves her. Does he adore her? I don't know if he can go that deep, but he loves her. And he loves the animals. Does he love the animals? Did it come into his care? I'll tell you, I don't know, because Gerald comes from this, it's a brutal, bad background. That guy had to really fight to survive. As a child, he had to fight to live, to be alive. Grandmother was always trying to kill him. That's right. So does Gerald care? He loves this woman. There's a woman in the novel, and he does love her. Oh my goodness, he loves her. But does he love her does he love her? He can't stop thinking about her. He follows her, takes care of her. Yes, he loves her. Does he love the dogs? He cares for all these dogs. He respects them. He certainly learns how to respect dogs, animals. Oh my gosh. He sees the depth, right? He gets the depth of dogs. But he is so cold-blooded. I mean, this guy is so cold-blooded that I don't know if he is really and truly capable of, because love is this. I mean, you can do the tough love thing, but love, for me, to me, it is, because it's this gentle, it's a gentle, soft thing. I don't think that love has hard edges. I don't believe that it does. And Gerald is nothing but a hard edge. Does Gerald love? No, but I don't know if he does or not. I've got to think about that because he does some really thoughtful things. But I don't know if they're motivated selfishly. I've got to think about it. And I will think about it because I love thinking about Gerald. He's awesome. He really is awesome. So why do I love Gerald so much? Because of what he does. He's so methodical. I mean, gosh, he can do anything. Yes, I think he does love, but I don't think he would be comfortable ever admitting it. But yes, he's got to love. He's got, maybe it's not love, but just an unstoppable sense of what is right and what is wrong. And Gerald is so smart that, and he thinks Gerald spends a lot of time alone. He spends a lot of time alone. So is it a sense of right and wrong, or does he realize that, I don't know. I got to think about it. I don't know. But Gerald, so I bring Gerald in whenever I have to have things taken care of by someone who doesn't mind taking care of things. And he's not going to necessarily tell Lila and Everett what he did. I don't know that Lila and Everett will ask. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll go check on the guy, see if he got another dog. But he won't. Gerald, he'll take care of that. No doubt about it. 11:50 a.m. Chug slowly opens his eyes to another absolutely gorgeous Florida day. The clouds have dispersed to reveal a blue that matches the color of his custom-made collar. He looks at Everett Hug between his splayed legs and sees the one who cannot imagine life without him, looking at him and grinning and slowly shaking his head back and forth. Chug knows exactly what he needs. He rolls his huge muscular body over and before standing, scratches the back of his left ear with the tips of his professionally trimmed nails. His lazy ministrations complete, he strolls over and puts his head on a lap much accustomed to the weight of Chug's heavy head. Chug loves the way Everett Hug pets him and scratches him behind his ears in just the right places. He's so lucky to have him. Yes, it's the truest truth. Everett Monteleon is so lucky to have Chug on a Tuesday morning and the many years of the endless Tuesday mornings to come. Thank y'all so much for listening to me. I enjoy it, sitting here thinking about this, thinking about these dogs, thinking about all these characters in these stories. I enjoy it. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for being here and listening to me. This has been Dog Food with Katherine Abel.